Hello, this is Christian Idealism, and today I kind of wanted to just go over my thoughts on my discussion with Tom Jump. Now, I'm sure you're all aware that I had a conversation with him about, philosophy of mind, and I do think that I could have done better overall. I think the biggest issue with our conversation going in was that we focused too much on one thing, and I'm gonna kind of go over what I was trying to get him at. So if all you're aware, I made a video. It's called "The Neuroscientific Evidence for Idealism," and I argue that there's studies that pretty much show that there an increase in experiences correlates with a decrease in brain activity, given the evidence from psychedelic drugs. And if you go to my description, I specifically lay out Bernardo Kastrup's papers, which go over this sort of thing. So you have this was the paper that I was trying to get Tom Jump to understand, like the arguments that Tom Jump trying to understand. He didn't really seem to care about, what philosophers like Bernardo Kastrup have actually written on the topic. And so if you actually watch pretty much the entire discussion is literally just on this topic. We never got to, other things. We never talked about free will, for example. We literally just stuck on this one thing, which was, dealing with psychedelic drugs. And he seemed to keep on making the claim that, oh, I deny it, so therefore, it's not true. But again, I was trying to make the point that under physicalism, you kind of would make the prediction that an increase in the metabolism of the brain should correlate with an increase in experiences, because that's kind of what the physicalists, that's kind of what physicalism requires. So I was trying to get him to kind of accept that premise, and then present an argument for my position, because that's pretty much the same thing Bernardo Kastrup does. But of course, Tom Jump wanted to ignore that and just make up his own model, which has nothing to do with physicalism. So he basically made a physicalist model that he didn't really explain how his model is compatible with physicalism, and he didn't really make a case. Now, I want to be fair that we could have kind of stopped talking about that. I feel like, again, we kind of talked way too much about the same thing over and over and over again. And so from the very start, we're talking about how you can infer consciousness isn't everything, but then of course he said that I was arguing from solipsism, which I wasn't, because what I said was that I do accept the existence of an outside world. And of course he kept saying that, oh, I'm doing what the solipsist does, which again, I'm not doing. If you watch my videos, I actually made a video that specifically critiques solipsism. So I'm not saying that it's our consciousness that we can apply to reality. What I'm saying is that the ontology of consciousness applies to reality. And the reason why I brought that up was I wish I could have told him this, but basically the argument is, it's kind of similar to how naturalists will say that all we can know is about the natural, and therefore we can only conclude the natural from science, right? So that's typically the argument for why naturalism is a simpler explanation. But I can just use the same argument for idealism, where we only know consciousness exists, so why not just apply consciousness to everything? It's the same thing of how naturalists would infer that, oh, we only experience natural things, so therefore let's say the whole, all of reality is natural, and there's nothing beyond that. There's nothing supernatural. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at with him, but he just didn't understand what I was trying to get at with him, which is fine, I guess. But I mean, I was trying to be, I obviously was trying to be, fair to his position, but he obviously wasn't being fair to my position. Now, I want to address some of the comments down here. I'm not going to read them all because they're pretty bad. But basically, the basic summary I can bring up to you guys is literally all of the comments are literally down here, name calling. There's no argument given at all. There's no argument against my position given for, physicalism, or, and again, I'm not going to let the trolls get to me, right? Yes, there were trolls, obviously, that, said some pretty bad things in the comments. But again, if we're YouTubers, if we're, Christian YouTubers specifically, you're going to have to deal with trolls. It's just part of life. So again, if you're dealing with trolls personally, just remember that just because there's trolls, that doesn't mean they get to you, right? So just remember, I just kind of always go back to this point where if there's a troll on the internet or whatever, like pretty much most of them are going to be basically the green line and below. Like they're never going to really give a good counter argument or a refutation of your points. They're just simply going to, you know, at best they're going to have a contradiction, but they're never going to actually get above the green state. So just remember that, yes, there are comments that are against me and against other YouTubers, other Christian YouTubers. And just remember that pretty much 99% of the comments that come in are literally the green line and below. So it's literally contradictions, respond to tone, ad hominem, and name calling. That's pretty much all it is. And so that's why, again, I'm not going to really worry about the trolls because they don't really have a counter argument. They're not presenting a counter argument. And that's kind of, I mean, I'm going to give some credit to Tom Jump. I mean, yes, he did present a contradiction, but he didn't really present any evidence for his position other than saying, oh, we'll just Google it up, which is ridiculous, in my opinion. You don't just tell your opponent, oh, just Google it. Like it's like if you're gonna have a conversation, like if we're gonna have a conversation with a climate change denier, I don't just say, oh well, just Google it and you'll find out that climate change is true. Like no, you need to actually tell them the research about why their view is wrong. You don't just say, oh, just Google it. Like it's ridiculous. Now I want to also bring up my conversation with Cam Spires because I think this is a very good like comparison. So my conversation with Tom Jump was very uncharitable. He did not respect my views. We just kept on yelling back and forth over and over again, and clearly he wasn't respectful at all. There literally was there wasn't any progress in our conversation with my conversation with Tom Jump. However, with my conversation with Cam on my channel, we actually agreed to a lot of concepts, and we were very respectful. And we were able to understand our perspectives. And the reason why I want to bring up Cam here is because I'm going to have people like Cam on my channel. I'm not going to have people like Tom Jump on my channel. So if I ever get into a dialogue with someone, I am not going to put our conversation on my channel unless I think it's a good dialogue. In other words, unless I think it was a very productive conversation. Okay. And that's why, I like Cam Spires. Even though we have our disagreements, I respect him because we have made progress in our, even though we have disagreements, again, we have made progress because there's a lot of things we actually do agree on. Whereas my conversation with Tom Jump, we couldn't agree on anything. And so my conversation with Tom Jump was very unproductive, whereas my conversation with Cam Spires was very productive. So again, that's why, if people are wondering, well, why don't you just, why aren't you putting your conversation with Tom Jump on your channel? The reason why I'm not doing it is because I don't think the conversation was productive. Again, I'm only going to put things on my channel, or I'm only going to put conversations up if they are productive, to find out what's true. And obviously my conversation with Tom Jump was not productive at all. And so that's pretty much it, guys. But, again, you can go watch my conversation with him. Tell me what you think about, Tom Jump and what he believes or whatever. But after talking to him about, this, I don't think I'm, given that the first conversation with him wasn't productive at all, I'm probably not going to talk with him again. I'm only going to be talking to atheists like Cam Spires who actually do, respect my views and also are very charitable, and that we can also have a productive conversation. So, but yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and have a nice day.